What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Two quick things before we get started. First, there is a giveaway at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around for that. Second, we had a new patron join at the Jedi Master level this past week, Maxwell Patrickan, so I just wanted to say thank you so much, Maxwell, for the support. It means the world to us. Our first question this week comes from Michael Maynor, who asks, how can JJ possibly tie up everything in episode 9? And it's funny that you mentioned that you feel like we need two films to do that, because I said something very similar after walking out of The Last Jedi for the first time. But if you think about it, the sequel trilogy, the way it's set up, isn't all that different from the prequel trilogy. I mean, the major conflict that we all think of in the prequels, the Clone Wars, that didn't start happening until the end of Attack of the Clones, and then in Revenge of the Sith, we jumped all the way to pretty much the end. So I assume something similar is going to happen in the sequel trilogy, where the actual conflict between the Resistance and the First Order doesn't start until the very end, and then we're going to have a time jump, and we will see what I assume is the end of the war. But in episode 9, I have to assume that it's going to be a very large-scale conflict. And then the way that we got the Clone Wars to fill in the gaps and actually kind of show us the full-on Clone Wars, maybe that's what the rumored Star Wars Resistance show is going to be about. Maybe it will fill in those gaps between episodes 8 and 9. But that's all conjecture. I also think that, the setup for these wars, they're very different, because the Clone Wars was pretty much like an even-sided conflict. Whereas the way we left things in The Last Jedi, it's not that way. The First Order is much bigger than the Resistance. And I think it's going to be all about that time jump. I think we're going to see that by the time of episode 9, the Resistance has grown fully, because it's not like the First Order has been in charge of the galaxy this whole time, or even rose up the same way the Confederacy of Independent Systems did. They just came out of nowhere. So I could see the galaxy rallying behind the Resistance, especially after Luke's actions on Crate. We already saw his story start to spread, so I could see that by the time of episode 9, things might be a little bit more even. And also, as you mentioned, the First Order isn't in the most stable place right now. They lost their supreme leader, and Kylo Ren is in charge, but I could see JJ kind of leaning on not everyone being cool with him as their leader. And they also lost the supremacy, so they're not in the strongest position they've ever been, but I do think that they have the bigger numbers. So obviously, I have no idea how this is all going to go. I am very glad that I don't have to write this story. I don't envy JJ at all. But, I really liked The Force Awakens, and I am excited to see how he handles this. And I do think it is possible. Like I said, I just don't think it's possible by me. Ben Stoneman wants to know how much of the canon lore of Star Wars has already been planned out by Lucasfilm, stuff that we just don't know about yet. Again, I have no clue. This is going to be a full-on speculation, but the way I think it probably works is that they know very broad strokes galactic history. I mean, we've already heard about things like the 100-Year Darkness and the Mandalorian Wars and Darth Bane and how the Rule of Two got started, but it's just very vague. We don't know the specifics, so I think that first they need to parse out kind of what format they think each of those stories would be best told in, whether it's a film or a TV series or a book, a comic, video game, whatever. And then a storyteller needs to come in, and I don't know if they hire storytellers to be like, we want you to do the Mandalorian Wars, or if a storyteller comes in and pitches and says, I'd like to do something in this era, and maybe they brainstorm and say, like, you might be a good fit, or maybe they come in and they just say, I'd like to tell a story about the start of the Jedi, and it's like something they haven't really nailed down yet, and they're like, yeah, go for it. I don't know, but I think that when it is decided that a storyteller is going to tell a story about the Mandalorian Wars, for example, they probably sit down with them and say, okay, this happened roughly in this timeline in galactic history. Here are some characters that we've already mentioned. You can use them if you want to, but it sounds like the story group is more collaborative and pretty much just like they're kind of hands off in that they let the storytellers do their thing. So that's the impression that I get from like interviews that I've read. Again, I have no idea how it works, but the basic answer to your question is I think that they probably have a fair number of things just very vaguely laid out in galactic history, but they're letting stories just unfold, and that's where those specific details are going to come from. Wasty Dest asks why some people like Chirrut or Lor San Tekka, who clearly believe in the Force and have kind of the right state of mind for it, why can't they control the Force? Although, as you point out in your question, that I do believe Chirrut is Force sensitive, but it's more of a he lets the Force control him rather than him wielding the Force. I think it's just a different belief system, but let's focus on Lor San Tekka. I think that's the more intriguing one. The way I view it is kind of the same as Morpheus and Neo in The Matrix. Neo is the one because he can fully comprehend what it means to live inside a computer program, and he realizes that he can affect the world around him. Morpheus also knows all of these things, but for whatever reason, he can't quite grasp it in the same way that Neo does. He can still do amazing things, but it's just not quite the same. So I guess that's kind of where I start my understanding of that. And in Lor San Tekka's case, I mean, honestly, it might come down to, like, what age did he start believing in the Force? Because if he started to really think that, yeah, the Force is real in his 30s, it just may have been too late for his mind to fully comprehend what that means. But he has seen it work. He knows that the cosmic force affects the galaxy, and so he follows the Church of the Force. But I'm speculating here. That might be why he can't actually wield it. He might be able to feel its presence, similar to the way Lyra Erso could in Rogue One Catalyst. But I guess that's why I think that he probably can't ever control it. It's just a matter of full-on comprehension, and that maybe he learned about it too late. Along those same lines, Levi Karstensen wants to know what religions are in the Star Wars universe. Are there any real-world equivalents? Is it planet to planet, or are there galaxy-wide religions? As for real-world equivalents, I can't think of anything like Buddhism or Christianity. From what it sounds like, I think there are a lot of planet-to-planet religions, but I think they are all pretty much Force-based, similar to the way in the real world we have Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, and they are all called like the Abrahamic religions. They all come from the same ancestor. They just interpret things differently. I think it's kind of like that, where from planet to planet, all of these religions do come from the Force. They stem off the Force, but they're about different interpretations. Like the Night Sisters of Dathomir use it in like a magical kind of way, and then we have the Jedi and the Sith, of course. So I do think that there are these planet-to-planet things, but they're all vaguely similar, and like the Lasat and their belief system is along those same lines. But I do think that there are galaxy-wide religions like the Jedi, like the Sith, and the Church of the Force. It sounds like that is more widespread than just a planet-to-planet thing. So it's probably some of them catch on and spread a little more, and then some of them are probably a little more local, like what the Lasat believe or the Night Sisters. Luke Cutter asks if we'll ever meet Biggs's family in canon. Well, in Legends we did, and Gavin Darklighter was a pretty big character, so I do have hope that in the future we'll see more Darklighters, but frankly, I'm a little worried about them, because in Jason Fry's novelization for The Last Jedi, it opens with like this whole alternate imagined universe where Luke didn't join the rebellion, he stayed on Tatooine, and he remembers how the Empire came to round up Biggs's family. And while that is an alternate universe, doesn't mean that definitely happened. I have to imagine that the Empire knows that Biggs Darklighter defected, so I am a little bit worried about the Darklighters, and I will be very relieved if we ever get any stories about them in the future. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where I left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained goodies like audio commentaries for the films, and we just released our commentary for A New Hope, so go check that out if you're interested. On to YouTube questions. Boba Fett asks if Kylo Ren is going to start using clone troopers in Episode 9 like he mentioned back in The Force Awakens. I doubt it, just because I think there's going to be so much to catch up on. We're going to have a time jump, I assume, and we'll have to just see what the galaxy is like, and all of a sudden having clones back would be an added complication. Although, I do kind of like the idea of Kylo Ren somehow employing clone troopers, just because that would be him further going against what the First Order has previously believed. It might be more of a way to upset his rivals within the First Order. So I do think that would be an intriguing complication to add. I just don't expect to see it. Darth Bredicus wants to know who I would want to play a live-action Ahsoka Tano. Honestly, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I see Ahsoka staying more in the animation world, but for the sake of this question, if it were to happen, I would want Ashley to do it. I think she should get the first offer because that is her character, and it would feel wrong to me for Ahsoka to open her mouth and to not hear Ashley's voice come out. So I don't know if they would just do it in makeup or motion capture, how that would be handled, but I think Ashley should do it. If she were uninterested, I'd be okay with Rosario Dawson, just because I do like her as an actress, and she has publicly said she'd love to do it, and I like her enthusiasm. So honestly, I'm just kind of bad at fan castings like this, so I never really know what to say, but I'm just going to go with the two that make the most sense, Ashley and Rosario. Jay Chapman asks how important the Luke Vader reveal in Empire Strikes Back is. Should that twist be protected for first-time viewers? Honestly, I think that there's no wrong way to watch Star Wars. Like, if you're going to introduce it to someone, base it off their character and their personality. They might like the prequels more. That said, when I have kids and I'm introducing them to Star Wars, I'm gonna go episodes 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, Rogue One, 8, and so on. I have always said that I think release order is the way to go. But yeah, I will be looking forward to seeing the reaction to that twist. So I do plan to preserve that twist, and I guess I would for anyone I'm introducing to Star Wars, but I don't think that it is an absolute necessary thing to do. I think you base it on who you're introducing Star Wars to. Droid walks into a bar, asks if I think a Vader standalone movie could work where he's hunting down Jedi that survived like Mace Windu or Quinlan Vos. First of all, I think Mace Windu is definitely dead. I don't care what Samuel L. Jackson says. Could it work? Sure. But the Darth Vader comics right now are pretty much telling that story. And he's going around, he's picked off 2 Jedi so far. It looks like he's about to get his 3rd. So I don't think that they really need to tell that story. Also, if they were to announce it, I wouldn't be all that thrilled. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm going to see it, but I want the standalone movies to get further and further away from the original trilogy. Totally get it for Rogue One. It's your first standalone movie, and Darth Vader puts butts in seats. It was a good way to bridge the gap, and he was awesome in the movie. It all made sense to me. But I hope he's not in Solo. I don't think he needs to be in Solo. And I just want those anthologies to continue to explore new things. And I don't want Lucasfilm to use Darth Vader as kind of a crutch. So, could it work? Yeah. Do I necessarily want it? Not really. We've got a lot of links in the description this week, and one of them is to our brand new Facebook group that we launched for discussion posts. And we're testing out taking questions from Facebook for the Q&A. We're still figuring out exactly how that's going to work, so bear with us. But James McCartney asks, how is it that Darth Maul's ship in Episode 1, the Scimitar, is seen having hyperspace tracking technology in the Lando comic, when in The Last Jedi, that's shown to be a brand new technology? Basically, it's a step back from The Last Jedi. The Scimitar in the comic is specified to be able to track one ship, and its unique drive signature, the Imperialis. So basically, those two ships were paired beforehand, and I assume the Scimitar could track all of the Imperialis ships because the Aftermath trilogy told us that there was more than one model. But yeah, every time a ship goes into hyperspace, it leaves off like this unique drive signature, and that's the same reason the Tantive V4 could be tracked through hyperspace at the end of Rogue One and the beginning of A New Hope. Their hyperdrive was broken and it was leaking like this radioactive, very unique drive signature that literally anyone could have followed. So yeah, The Last Jedi's version of it is just kind of the next step in what the Scimitar had, where the First Order didn't even need to know anyone's drive signature. They could just see what their escape vector was, and then a computer would figure out the most likely scenario and they would follow. Here's a bonus question, because it's not Star Wars related, but it is Lucasfilm related. Screen Ninja wants to know if Indiana Jones questions are okay, and if so, what characters do I want to see in Indy 5 besides Indiana Jones? Yes, Indiana Jones questions are always welcome. I love Indiana Jones probably as much as I love Star Wars. As for the characters, we know Henry Jones Sr. is out because he was mentioned as having passed away in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Similarly, Marcus Brody can't come back, but that's also because Denholm Elliott, the actor, passed away. I want Sala back. I love that character, and I love John Rhys Davies. I would like to see Marion come back, but maybe just at the beginning, just to show that she and Indy are still happily married. Short Round, I would welcome back in a cameo. Again, I don't want him for the whole adventure, but I think it would be nice to just see something from Temple of Doom come back. And as for Mutt Williams, I don't want him in the movie, but I do think that the character deserves a mention just as to why he isn't there. And one final bonus question, Alan Morallo and a lot of other people last week asked me why I had a bottle of Sriracha on my desk. And a couple weeks before that, I had a bottle of Sriracha on my desk, and everyone had questions about it. I just sometimes eat and snack at my desk, and I like a little bit of spice, and today, I've got Valentina. It's just a different hot sauce, but I mean, that's all there is to it. So apparently I need to start hiding Sriracha and hot sauce bottles around my office like Where's Waldo for you guys to find. That's all the time I have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. Now, on to the giveaway. Tops reached out to me randomly and just offered to give one of my subscribers a signed photo of John Boyega in a ski speeder. And I'll put up a picture of the picture so you can see it. But to enter, I put a link in the description. Just follow that link. There are multiple things you can do. You can do one of them or all of them. It's completely up to you. And I will announce the winner in next week's Q&A video. And I've also linked to Topps' Star Wars Authentics line and the exact product itself. If you want to get more information on that, that's all in the description. But that's it for today. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.